So you saw the bluestone buildings. The way I thought that we could approach this was, we said those big, beautiful bluestone buildings were very formally composed, they were absolutely symmetrical, but the stuff of their making, that ashlar composition of the bluestone, the basalt, was quite random. So maybe we could take that, and that would be the largest pattern of our building. We'd super scale it, we'd make it out of glass and steel, but we'd still have the understanding of this ashlar composition in our building that provided this linkage. So there it is in our computer renders, our computer rendering of the building prior to its assembly. We also looked at sight lines. There's a massive row of historic elm trees. We wanted to push the facade back to the point where walking down the footpath had opened up and linked with this avenue of elms that you'll see in a minute. The largest mobile crane in Australia, at rental of 50,000 a day, hoisted these massive steel panels into place. Oh, the other thing is, just quickly, you'll see on this side, is I also wanted to appear old, so it actually crinkles. It's like an old 12-pane window that somehow over time is actually misshapen with age. Again, looking at texture, we invented this brick bond. This is the book repository down at the end of it. So we looked at the way we could actually get bricks to be like books, and then by folding the wall back to give us the sight line of these canopies, this happy accident happened on our computer that we could actually, rather than just lay the whole wall over, which would have been too easy, we'd have those poor brickies actually hold up the book bricks to truly vertical as the wall laid back. And it's, for all of the other things we tried, and it was so much harder to do, this simple kind of last-minute idea became the thing that, in terms of Melbourne, the discussion about this building is all about these bricks. It seems to have distracted from all else, but it was not one of the biggest ideas, but it seems to have been one of the joys of the making of this building. I always love things that are essentially difficult, and we push craftspeople or tradespeople to do their best ever work. The brickies who did this were just straight commercial bricklayers, never done anything like this in their life, and yet their pride in this project and entering the little brick awards all in Australia and everything is just quite wonderful. One of the joys of doing it. So this is the facade. These photos have just been taken with great haste just for this trip to New Zealand. But at night time particularly becomes very transparent. Melbourne Grammar is very cold and austere and grey on the outside. We wanted a building that still did that, but it was highlighted with a very warm interior of solid timbers and a lot of colour. So there's our facade. Within that, we have this frit pattern, which was a weird abstraction of the school crest that sits over the various parts of the facade. There's this cut open end that engages through the library part of the building back into one of these ovals. We've got a massive drought in Australia, the ovals died, but you'll see that cut end and the wall cranking back. Also in this structure, part of it wasn't in their brief, but we knew Paul Sheehan. For those of you old enough to remember, Paul Sheehan represented Australia as a fantastic Test cricketer. He's the headmaster of the school. So I thought if we actually got the brief lecture theatre and pulled it out to the side, we'd actually build a cricket pavilion on top of it. So we aimed the lecture theatre, which goes under the ground, at the middle of this cricket oval, and built on top of it this vast 250-seat cricket pavilion, which may well have won us the competition. Why I said I thought we made it hard for ourselves. Our idea back into those floor plans was to actually not keep our buildings separate from the old buildings, but push it right up to beside it, actually demolish another building which had actually invaded those buildings back in the 1960s, but create this loggia, this link between the two. And I realised in my haste to get here, I didn't bring one critical drawing. This loggia is exactly the proportions of the basalt facade of that 1860s building, and these massive 2.5-storey high pillars of black precast are the panels of the basalt, and the window panels are rendered in steel. So there's the rhythm of one building is taken over to this frontis to the next. And these are actually all out of in situ concrete, these sort of hanging gardens of Babylon. Each of these planter boxes then, plants will, as they grow, will fall over the edges. So actually it's a way of us corrupting the ground plane and bringing it up over the building to bring this new ground level up to the top of the 3 storeys of building. There's the cricket pavilion that faces into the oval. Beautifully raw concrete is meant to be, the builder failed miserably with the concrete, but it's quite beautiful in its rawness with the degree of finish they achieved everywhere else. And the plats just all slightly shift as they go up, so nothing's in parallel, just again to provide these contours, and then the opening of the building within. there is the end of the loggia, the new glass opening end of the library area, and then the ziggurat, as we describe it. And even in the glass, we've sort of suggested this contour in the glass as we've held the two sheets apart, as I did in my house all those years ago, to provide, again, this link of line that actually draws the glass down to ground level. And then just shot through that front street facade into the inner workings of the building. So into this massive entry foyer that lines up exactly each side of it with the historic facade behind, so you look through the building. So this building becomes a portal to the history of the school. And then, like we have so many times before with the University of South Australia particularly, we played around with the brief of the building to the point where we pushed the boys right hard up against the street. So we invented something, it wasn't in the brief, this long desk that's about 30 or so metres long, that's desks and seats and things that sort of is quite sculptural. It goes all the way, just floating underneath this massive cantilevered steel curtain wall to actually push the boys to the edge and actually have them working hard up against the glass. So from outside you actually see signs of activity. Looking back across to the bluestone buildings and back engaging with the street with these different spaces. Staircase, this meandering staircase with no visible point of support. It cantilevers from bottom to the top, and intentionally it's for school kids, particularly at this age of school kids, from the youngest to the oldest. Kids will grow up in this building. It's not like our university buildings. We actually never done a secondary school building before. All our buildings were for universities. So I thought this has got to be a building that actually kids grow up in. So part of it is the journey of life. So nothing's straight, it meanders through, as if you sort of learn on the way and slow down. You meander through this funny crooked staircase that gets you from ground to first floor. And then you're looking at those different layers of glass out into the heart of the campus. And there it is at street level. And again, even just with the poor brickies, with the idea that the bricks could do different things to create seating, vantage points and so forth, beneath this massive floating curtain wall. So that's my latest, enthusiasm for a recent building.